Are going to dive a little deeper into the naturalization process just to make sure that we understand exactly what this is. I know you spent some time working on it with the last video, and most of us seem to get the gist of what the process was. But there's some other components that go along with this that I want us to know about and understand, and it's also going to lead to a little activity that I want us to try just to kind of see where we're at. But all those instructions will follow. So the naturalization process, a focus on what needs to be done to become a naturalized citizen. So the whole process, this is kind of a concise version of those 11 steps that were on that chart to the link that I gave you, just so that we kind of understand them a little bit better and know kind of exactly what it is. Just remember that this naturalization process is for anybody not legally born in the country who wants to become a citizen. So first things first is you need to become a legal resident, which is what we talked about with getting the residency. You have to get your quote-unquote green card first in order to even be able to try to become a naturalized citizen. You have to be at least 18 years old, so you can get your green card sooner most times, depending on your situation. Um, but it is usually, for older people who are trying to get here from other countries. So you have to be at least 18 years old with a green card, and you need to be a resident of the country for at least 5 years. So let's pretend that you got your green card on your 18th birthday. You would have to wait until you're 23 to even start the naturalization process, which again, different process. And you have to demonstrate a continuous presence in the U.S. And this came up in that in some of the questions before. Is you if you have a green card, you can't leave the country for more than 6 months at a time. If you leave the country for more than 6 months at a time and you try to come back in, you may not be allowed back in unless you can prove extenuating circumstances, whether it be work or illness or anything else that prevented you from coming back. So you can travel with a green card to your home country, but if you're out for more than 6 months, you could lose your green card, and then you would have to start the process all over again. And then, like any other government thing, you have to apply to become a naturalized citizen. Now, here's the deal with the application. You have to fill out what's called the N400 application, and it costs $745 just to apply. And this is important because even if you get rejected, you don't get your money back. So if you want to become a naturalized citizen, you better hope that you get it the first time, otherwise this could get very expensive. So just to kind of let you know that anytime that you do anything for the government, driver's licenses, naturalization applications, anything is going to cost you money to apply, and the government rarely refunds your money. The rest of the process, you have to have what's called good moral character, and what that means is you cannot be guilty of any major crimes. Obviously, there's a big list of things you cannot do, but specifically things like murder, assault, any drug-related crimes, if you're smuggling drugs, selling drugs, caught buying drugs, or even, and this is specifically pointed out by the federal government, engage in prostitution or things of that nature, you are not going to be allowed to become a naturalized citizen. You can continue to be a resident, possibly, depending on the gravity of your infractions, but you won't be able to become a citizen if you have these types of things on your record. You also have to have an attachment to the ideals and morals of the U.S. Constitution, and that basically just means, understand what the Constitution's about and understand that there's laws in this country that have to be followed, and follow them. Also, you need to have a knowledge of basic English. You're going to be living in this country, so it does make sense to understand the language as best you can. And you need to demonstrate a basic knowledge of three things: reading, writing, speaking in English. There are study materials available for when you file your application, because you are going to be asked to show knowledge in these areas. The reading passage is a few sentences that you're supposed to read. The writing passage is, again, you write some sentences, and the speaking portion actually gets taken care of when you read and when you go through the civics and history test, which we'll talk about in a minute, that demonstrates that you can speak English enough to get by. You also have to pass, like we just said, what's called the U.S. Civics test, and it's basically questions about the history and government of the United States. Here's the deal with that test. The test is made up of 100 possible questions that are preset by the federal government. Of these 100 questions, the interviewer asks you 10, and in order to pass, you have to get 6 correct. So do the math. You only need a 60 to pass this test. So it's very important that we know these 3 steps: 100, 10, 6, because this is what needs to be done in order to pass. All right. If you do all of this, you can become a citizen, assuming you follow all these rules and regs and pay and all that stuff. Then you can become a citizen. That being said, in and what we're going to be doing with this little activity that I mentioned is the civics test. Here's the thing with the civics test. The civics test is something that's required only for people going through the naturalization process, meaning if you're born here, you don't have to go through this. People trying to become citizens are the ones that have to worry about going through this. So if you're born here, you're lucky. You don't need to take it, and you get to stay, which, congratulations. The questions are asked interview style, like we said, and only correct answer accepted. There is no multiple choice. This person picks 10 questions, whoever's interviewing you, picks 10 questions from the 100, and you have to answer, like we said, 6 of them in order to pass. So here's what we're going to do. After this video, I want you to go on the quiz that is linked up with the assignment and is a participation grade only. Participation grade only. You're going to take the quiz and see if you pass. All right. I picked 10 questions, of which you need to get 6. So I will go through them. I will grade them. Don't freak out. This isn't going to be like if you got 2 right, you're going to get a 20 and it's going to go in the grade book. No, I'm going to grade you on whether or not you completed the quiz, and then let you know whether or not you would have passed the civics portion of the test. Would you be going through the naturalization process? To me, it's just kind of a fun little way to kind of see where you're at with your stuff, and just also to make you understand becoming a citizen in this country, if you're not lucky enough to already be one at birth, is difficult. There's a lot that has to take place, a lot that has to happen, and it's time and money. And if you don't do it the right way the first time, it's going to cost you more time and more money. So just something to think about. So take a look at the quiz, get it done, and we'll see where we're at.